Okay, so we are back and we are already moving on to Module 4, which is Retrieving and Evaluating Research Studies. So at this point, you already have a plan for what you're going to do for your search. You have established your inclusion and exclusion criteria. You go through the readings and the lectures, and you come down here to the assignment, and what you'll do for your assignment number 4 is to complete a flow diagram. So let me pull an example of one that was provided to you so you can see it. Not that one, this one. So this is the one that's that's in Canvas as a template. And so this one is very commonly used. It's the Prisma 2009 flow diagram. I always use this one. I start with this one on mine when I do mine. And so when you submit this, you should include these boxes over here. It's a part of the model or what they use. And then I also always include this reference down here. And so basically this is just a record of your search. And so you start up here with how many articles you find out, or you start from your beginning of your search, and then how many are removed, how many are excluded with the exact reason. So I want to explain this one thing here. It says records after duplicates removed. So duplicates just means that, you're going to look in PubMed and CINAHL and Ovid, whatever you're looking at, and there might be the same articles in PubMed as they are in CINAHL. So of course those are duplicates because they're the same, so those would come out of your numbers. And so that's just another piece of record keeping that you need to take into account when you're keeping track of what you did. So let me show you an example of one that was provided in a article for you. And so this is the article that is the one on interpersonal trauma exposure and addictive behaviors, a systematic review. And so this diagram, you'll notice, is similar to what I've said in the past, where not every journal article is going to have this diagram. So this one happens to be here, and it's very detailed, and I think it's a very nice example of how to do one, but you're not going to see it in every single article that you find. So I'm glad that you have this example. So we'll just start at the top. So this one started out, so when I was talking in Module 3 about round 1, and I was talking about loneliness and cognitive function, and I had 100 records or 1,000 records to start with, that's what this number is. So they just typed in their search terms and came up with initially 47,000 records. So the only thing they don't have here, which is kind of nice to see, is what databases and how many in each. So it would be good to say PubMed had 10,050, Ovid had 24,055, PsycInfo had whatever, just so that people can see exactly where they came from. Then when you go down to this part over here, it says 5 additional records were identified using the reference list of some of the articles. So we talked about that before. So they apparently found some systematic reviews or some sort of review, and they went through the reference list and found 5 more that didn't come up in this original 47,000. Then they compared duplicates, and there were 17,000 duplicate records, so those were all removed. And they ended up right here with 29,000 abstracts that they screened. So then from the 29,000, they were able to exclude 26,000. So 25,000 of those met their exclusion criteria, and that was clear. 14,000 likely met their exclusion criteria, and so they gave little examples of that. So once they excluded these 26,000, they had 3,000. From there, they looked at them more closely. So here for the 29,000, you can tell that they looked at the abstracts. Here, I'm not sure, I can't tell exactly if they looked at the abstracts or what, but they had 3,000 articles. They excluded 2,600, and so they give reasons for why to account for all of these. So 39 investigated trauma only as a subsequence of addiction. 261 were literature reviews, 2,100 were cross-sectional studies. So I don't know what their exclusion criteria were, but these are the reasons that these were specifically excluded. So then once they got rid of the 2,600, they were left with 416. And when it says records assessed for eligibility, so that means that they actually pulled the full text. They pulled the entire article so that they could go through it and see if it should be excluded or included. So of the 416, they excluded 235. And so here again, they have the exact reason. So 50 of them, the manuscript wasn't available. 102 didn't satisfy the screening criteria. 81 didn't satisfy eligibility. And then they found also 2 more were duplicates. So these duplicates kind of snuck by from that original one where they didn't see them for whatever reason. So then from there, they ended up with 181 papers included in the systematic review. So this is a really big systematic review. 181 articles to review and synthesize is enormous. That's okay. You know, that's what the goal of their paper was, and that's what the purpose was. So that's acceptable. Again, for our purpose and in 6105, most likely 181 papers is going to be way too much for you to try to get through in this short time frame of 1 semester. But if you're not sure, check with your faculty and they can advise you how to proceed on that. So really, this is kind of it for the flow diagram. You just need to take very specific notes. You need to keep very specific records in terms of numbers of articles that you find and numbers that are screened and numbers that are excluded and exactly why they're excluded, and then put it into your Prisma diagram that you have here. All right, so if you have any questions, let your faculty know. This should be a little bit easier. You don't actually have to write too much here. You just need to report what you did. So let your faculty know if you have any questions, and we'll be moving on to Module 5 soon.